Welcome to Egypt, a nation perhaps most famous for its ancient pyramids, vast desert landscapes, and the mighty Nile River. Egypt's history spans millennia, and it is often considered one of the cradles of human civilization, with a rich cultural and architectural legacy that has influenced the world for thousands of years. Today, however, the situation is much more complex. While Egypt still boasts a significant economy, its potential is constrained by a range of economic, political, and social challenges. At present, Egypt is one of the largest economies in the Middle East and North Africa, MENA region, but its vast population, currently the 13th largest in the world, means that its economic output is stretched thin. Despite these challenges, Egypt's status as one of the poorest nations on the Mediterranean should not overshadow its immense untapped potential. The country has the foundational elements to rise as a global economic power, but it is currently navigating a series of internal and external obstacles that are holding it back. Egypt's potential is immense. Geopolitically, it is strategically located at the crossroads of Africa, the Middle East, and Europe, and it controls the Suez Canal, one of the most important shipping routes in the world. Its workforce is enormous and young, with the majority of its population still in their prime working years, offering the promise of substantial economic growth. The Nile River, one of the longest rivers in the world, provides a unique natural advantage in terms of transportation, water supply, and fertile land for agriculture. However, the path to transforming Egypt into a global powerhouse is anything but straightforward. The country faces a range of challenges, including internal unrest, political instability, and significant tension with its neighbors. Relations with Ethiopia, for instance, have been strained over the construction of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, GERD, which Egypt fears could severely impact its water supply from the Nile, the lifeblood of its economy. This conflict underscores the broader geopolitical and domestic challenges that Egypt must address. While Egypt has seen some industrial growth in recent years, these positive developments are often overshadowed by deeper structural issues, including corruption, poor governance, and mounting national debt. The government's decision to build a new administrative capital, far removed from the political unrest in Cairo, is symbolic of the instability that continues to plague the nation. Furthermore, Egypt's external relations, particularly its dependence on the Suez Canal for international trade, add another layer of vulnerability. A major disruption to this key trade route, such as the blockage caused by the Ever Given incident in 2021, can send shockwaves throughout the global economy, highlighting Egypt's critical role in international commerce. Why Egypt should be one of the world's most powerful economies? Egypt's economy should be one of the most powerful in the world. It has a vast land area with an enormous population that could fuel rapid economic development, an impressive workforce, and critical infrastructure such as the Nile and the Suez Canal. The country's unique geographical location, sitting between Europe, the Middle East, and Africa, allows it to act as a hub for trade between these regions. Moreover, Egypt's strategic location on the Suez Canal gives it a significant advantage in global shipping, handling about 12 to 13% of the world's trade. This means that Egypt's economic success is deeply intertwined with the global economy. The Suez Canal is a choke point for international shipping, and any disruption to its flow causes ripple effects throughout global markets, underscoring the geopolitical significance of Egypt in the 21st century. The country's manufacturing sector is growing rapidly, driven by low labor costs and relatively inexpensive energy. These factors make Egypt an attractive destination for foreign investment, particularly for companies looking to produce goods in a low-cost environment. The government has also made substantial efforts to improve infrastructure, particularly in the transportation and energy sectors, with the Suez Canal being expanded and new roads and bridges being built to reduce congestion. Why Egypt isn't there yet? Despite the clear potential, Egypt faces significant obstacles that prevent it from reaching its full economic potential. The most pressing issue is the country's governance and political instability. Over the past decade, Egypt has witnessed widespread protests and revolutions, most notably in 2011, which led to the ousting of longtime President Hosni Mubarak. Political instability, coupled with a centralized and sometimes authoritarian government, has created an environment where corruption thrives, and economic reforms are slow to be implemented. The decision to build a new administrative capital city in the desert at an estimated cost of $58 billion, is a prime example of how the Egyptian government has often prioritized grandiose, symbolic projects over addressing the country's underlying problems. While the new capital may provide a physical escape for government officials from the social unrest in Cairo, the money spent on such projects could have been better invested in improving the country's infrastructure. Egypt's economy is also saddled with significant debt, and it is facing increasing financial pressure. In 2023, the country's debt-to-GDP ratio was 95%, which, although lower than some major economies, is still unsustainable for a developing nation. The Egyptian pound has also lost significant value against the dollar in recent years, making foreign debt even more expensive to service. The country's central bank has raised interest rates to combat inflation, but this only adds to the burden on businesses and consumers. Egypt's strategic assets and natural resources. Despite these challenges, Egypt is still home to vast natural resources that contribute significantly to its economy. The country is the fifth largest producer of crude oil in Africa and the third largest producer of natural gas. Egypt is also the largest exporter of refined petroleum products on the continent, which contributes around 15% of its GDP. However, Egypt has consciously avoided becoming entirely dependent on its natural resources, instead fostering a more diversified economy. The Nile River remains one of Egypt's most important assets, providing fertile land for agriculture and serving as a critical waterway for transportation. Unlike freight rail, which requires massive investment in infrastructure, barges on the Nile can transport goods relatively cheaply. The Nile has long been a key component of Egypt's industrial sector, and the country has managed to use this natural advantage to establish itself as a competitive manufacturing hub. Another strategic asset is the Suez Canal, which accounts for billions of dollars in revenue each year. Egypt earns an average of $300,000 per ship passing through the canal, and in years of high traffic, this revenue can be a significant portion of the country's foreign exchange income. However, Egypt remains vulnerable to geopolitical tensions in the region. Conflicts in Yemen and other nearby areas have disrupted shipping routes, and any blockage of the canal, like the Ever Given incident, can have devastating effects on the global economy. If Egypt can overcome its challenges and capitalize on its strengths, it could become one of the most powerful economies in the world. However, the road to success will require significant reform, political stability, and international cooperation. That's all for now. Like, subscribe, and leave a comment to let me know what you think. More to come. See you next time.